So, from my heart to your heart, thank you for coming out. And for those of you on Facebook, my heart to you, and thank you for tuning in, listening. This is our third night in this series of 6, the World Dharma Forum. A chance for those of you who are here, for us, very fond of the word commune. I was once a very deeply embedded Christian. I was the president of the Young Christian Society in high school and the same in college for a while. My grandmother was highly religious. I wanted to be a preacher. You can probably see that. I grew up around blacks and gospel. I still to this day, 50 years hence from high school, frequently watch Christian preachers, especially black preachers, preach their truth about the nature of being. I'm moved by people who are moved by being moved by something that's unordinary, whether it be physicists or scientists or even working girls on the street or even people deeply embedded in the trauma of a refugee camp who are cathartic in anguish and yet they refuse to give up. You know? Not that that's the criteria of passion, that you need to give up. I mean, I don't know about you, but I have been broken on the shore of everyday existence. Set aside the large cracks, the fissures, the tsunamis, the volcanoes of hell that descends daily on this planet of ours. But I'm moved by the inexplicable. I don't know that I have a language for it, especially now that I've dropped being a Buddhist. I've dropped being spiritual. I think I'm embodying more of this idea of being alive, terrifying as it is, more and more and more. Proud to say, my courage is elevating proportionate to the terror, but the terror is not decreasing. And I say this with extreme openness, not to scare anyone, but my only desire to be in this forum with you, with anyone listening, quite frankly, anyone willing to be in intimate proximity with me. I'm only interested to commune. And I don't know if that makes sense to you. It doesn't have to be sacred per se, but it damn well better be. Really sacred. Does it have to be like spiritually sacred, like saccharine spiritually sacred? I am not interested in the homogenizing of time and space, the status quo, the lockstep, the social quo of belonging to the cult of ordinary. Alan, stop it. You're using words irresponsibly. What you're speaking to here is the desire to not know, but desiring to know more. It's a kind of an odd juxtaposition, if you know what I mean. It's like extreme vulnerability with a high degree of confidence in the initiative to discover. Not the initiative of discovering and therefore I'm confident in my being. I really am suspect of confident people, frankly. I don't know about you, but it doesn't take a lot to look around in the world and see just the eyes that are peering out at your own eyes. How rare it is to pause and stop and look and feel, and just how wrong it is in society to enter someone's eyes. How wrong it is. You could be seen as really aberrant, wrong, and yet so desired in shared sacred space to make contact. So the forum for me is a place where it takes the stigma, the criminality, the hoax, all the social laws in society that are essentially wrong, and making a lot of them here intimately right. Being really unordinary. I would dare say, not coming unglued, it's like, my God, if I got any more unglued, I don't know that I would wake up in the morning and be able to walk. terrified in a sacred way, uncertain in a seemingly evolving, compassionate way. All these words that point to contradictions, are you with me? At one point in my life, I thought that it would work out, that I could evolve it and develop it, and kind of like A, B, C, D, 8 steps, and you're in your spiritual success. You are in your, I'm doing it. I'm a bit of a mover and a shaker in my Dharma world. Just the opposite. I don't know about you, not that I'm trying to play it safe or even trying to be radical, but it just keeps breaking my heart to be alive. Why? Point 1. What does it mean to live the Dharma life? When you look for the Dharma, you find it in yourself. What does that mean? The sacred art that's often lost of the pure willingness to feel. Without an agenda. I don't know about you, no cliche intended. I live on 4th Avenue. And everywhere you go, primarily, there are exceptions. People rarely seem to make what seems to me risky contact. You usually need alcohol for that, or some form of drug, or a couple of other things, and kind of an arranged situation. It needs to be tenderfied. And then there's the pretense of possibility of feeling. So we've created a form here where feeling is activated. We don't have to have an answer. That's my suggestion. Okay? I don't say that vulnerability is an essential quality here, but if there's a place where you want to practice the art of openness, the heart of openness, the willingness to feel new possibilities within your own being. It's one thing to listen to each other or to me, but more importantly, to find the Dharma, we find it in ourselves, first and foremost, by the willingness to feel. Feel. And I ask you, I invite you, take the forward movement out of the space. We talk about meditation, we talk about yoga, we talk about practicing the Dharma. Take a breath, Alan. Just chill a moment. Occupy a little bit closer to the here, other than there, back to here, and just commune in the rarity of getting good people together here and digitally around the world. And okay, what do I feel and what is arising in my own heart right now? I had the good fortune not long ago, before my teacher, Sayadaw U Pandita, passed away. I was thinking about him in relationship to this talk, that I was invited to his cottage in Rangoon in Burma with 2 very dear friends of mine, Derek Kay, who lives in New York, with his partner Masha, and my dear friend Janine, who lives here in Vancouver, a very well-known psychotherapist and dear Dharma sister. And the 3 of us went to Sayadaw U Pandita's cottage in Rangoon for 6 consecutive nights. He called us in to commune. He had 96. I'd known him for 41 years. I'd only known him principally to be sitting in a particular chair most of my 4 decades with him. And without a doubt, the most prominent, sacred, meaningful relationship of my life. What brought that into that level of intimate reality was that he, in his own quite demanding way, through his own presence, his own being, his own physicality, his own psychical energy, asked of you, brought into the space, demanded of you heightened, super high, heightened quality of presence. He made communion what he did in life. Where you look for the Dharma, you find it in yourself, you share it in shared space. What does this point to? The willingness to courageously feel beautiful qualities of being, intimacies that are vulnerable and uncertain, being in a naked space with someone. Obviously we have our clothes on, but we have our clothes off. We have our psychic clothes on and psychic clothes off. And the foibles, the vulnerabilities, the oddities, if all of us in this room were actually psychically naked, and that we could see this extreme humanness that we sit in every day, that are cloaked by cultural camouflages and paradoxes and propaganda and minds that are very distorted through this and that. But if we really sat in vulnerability and really said, I want to know what it means to be human here, on the terms of my deepest heart's desire. I use deepest heart's desire. I invite you halfway through this evening, before we open it up to talk. When I gave up enlightenment, when I gave up nirvana, when I gave up nibbana, the destination of the good life, and made it a living reality where I am, it brought to life the desire to be what I wanted to be. What do I want to know that I don't know? What do I want to feel that I don't feel? And how do I want to go about it, making that an immediate possibility? Seda U Pandita invited immediacy, sacredness of communion. He took the parameters off of taboo. He's inviting a space in these 6 talks that'll soon be published to break all contempt that you have, Alan, for being radically broken open to a new dimension of insight into the nature. When you look for the Dharma, he said, you find it in yourself. Now let's just explore the word Dharma. My greatest torments have been in not knowing my mind. Not what people have done to me, but what I've done to myself. My fears, my terrors, my shames. I've not blamed it on circumstances, people, teachers, parents, society, God, genome, chemistry, whatever. At some point, to achieve a greater degree of understanding, I had to take radical self-responsibility for being the architect of my own awakening and my own suffering. That took radical courage to enter myself and to see that the root of the Dharma was right here and right now. That particular quality of the Dharma, first and foremost, was the study of how I torment myself. How I do not give myself the peace that I desire through objects and desire and the avoidance of unpleasant things. Could I really achieve a degree of confidence born from understanding my own mind? And what did it mean to embody an understanding of one's own consciousness? When you look for the Dharma, you find it in yourself. What does that point to? What do you want to know about yourself, Alan? My teacher would say, that you do not yet know. I want to know a peace that I've never known before, beyond fear, beyond greed, beyond anger, beyond delusion, or that they coexist with that, but my strength is in the ability to abide in that greater degree of peace, a greater degree of resilience, a greater degree of compassion, a greater degree of self-respect, sir. I want to know an unequivocal, inexorable indomitable sense of self-respect. That I don't need it from someone else. I can be true to myself regardless of another person's perception or my idea of how they're going to react. Truly true to myself. Deep radical authenticity without the pretense of needing to belong to the expectations of others and fulfilling that expectation, or even fulfilling the expectations I project onto my own inner world. Who are you in your truest sense? I want to know him. Then you must find an intimacy, he would say, that discovers the qualities of consciousness that enhance and contradict that desire. That's the Dharma for you. And really what that means ultimately is your ability to mindfully know how to feel the nature of inner beingness as it arises. Okay? When you look for the Dharma in the world, you find it in yourself. Through the art of feeling mindfully the nature of your mind, how you elevate the desire to be who you want to be, and how you negate or contradict that deep sense of passionate purpose. So, the Dharma here, when you look for the Dharma you find in yourself, it's the intimate felt study, another word for meditation, the intimate felt study of states of consciousness. Now, I arbitrarily came up with a term the other day on a walk.
Dharma was that?
Yes, the Dharma is the study, the intimate felt study of states of consciousness. States of heart. The fabric of inner beingness. The invisible qualities that are the lenses that we see and feel through. When there's love, there's a sense of, I'm feeling your welfare as my priority. Greed, what could I get from you without trusting that you will offer when you feel moved? A sense of mudita, a sense of, oh wow, you have won the governor's award. I can feel a sense of resonant joy for you, as if that joy is my own. Oh, she got it through underhanded means. I feel fear and jealous. States of consciousness. What is meditation? The study of states of consciousness. How do you study them? The art, women know this, the art of felt intimate presence. How well do you tenderly, confidently place your mindful presence upon the fabric of this invisible matrix of inner being? Alan, the most important task of your life, after these 6 conversations with Seda U Pandita, the most important task of your life is to know your own mind. To know your own mind. There you will find your own liberation or your self-inflicted conflict. Take your presumption off of others. No need, he would say, to try to conquer or influence or even inspire another. Bring that back home. Conquer only yourself. When you look for the Dharma, you find it in yourself. So let's close, if we can, with a few more words about what does it mean to mindfully embody an intimate felt presence with states of consciousness. Number 1 for me is the art of remembering. When I'm not in intimate sacred memory of the purpose of my presence, which is to embody a greater degree of awakening, a greater degree of compassion, of caring, of loving, of patience, of determination, of effort, of focus, of loving kindness, of sympathetic joy. If I'm not in intimate felt reality with these states of mind, I'm often looking through the lenses of how to avoid unpleasant circumstances based upon conditions, or I'm trying to acquire things in form or in desire that often lead me down a road of despair that really, in some ways, compromise my intimate relationship with the priority of certain states of consciousness that I really want to embody and develop. What do I really want to know in myself that I really do not yet know? Often in Burma, where I've lived for a long time, people want to know a state of fearlessness. But how often I would hear from the leaders in that country that that's an ideal. Rather, in our struggle for freedom in our country, we've learned the high art of coexisting with fear and leaning on the side of courage. Don't try to remove fear, but learn how to act despite it. Courage, it's been said by Aung San Suu Kyi, is grace under pressure. If we were to study the word grace, and I encourage you, everyone on Facebook, all of us, we're living in a brief moment of cognitive, physical skill and ability. Anything could happen anytime, we know that. And at the end of the day, dignity and conscience and self-respect, where do they reside in the individual? In the ability to make conscious choices, to develop the qualities of mind that they really want to know. I encourage you, make those mental notes in your life. What states of mind do you want to evolve and develop and make known to yourself as who you really are? Let those be the defining qualities beyond your name, beyond your label, beyond your livelihood. How often I would hear that when Sayadaw U Pandita. Be the state of mind that you seek now. Learn the immediacy of embodying that state. And we're in the room with him. His presence invited the immediacy of co-occupation of heightened states of mind. Communion, starting where we started here today. Be with the ones who know the secret things, or by yourself, as it's been said. I cannot emphasize enough that in my life today, I am becoming more and more conversant in rejecting. I'm not particularly that good with that many people. It could be that I'm even, I dare say, it's not a very polite thing to say to anyone, but a bit misanthropic. I feel somewhat phobic sometimes about society and people, and from cars and all kinds of aberrant behaviors, and it's getting the cacophony of the mind is being heard more and more loud. I feel very odd to say that, but it's true. I feel like I'm wanting more and more to retreat from the hum and the din of ordinary and urban. I'm feeling less and less that there's a skin of protection between me and that. I sometimes look at people that are smiling and I can hear the anguish of denial, whether it's me or her or him, I'm not sure. And sometimes I can hear the loud cry of the starving and the hungry, although they don't live on this continent or anywhere near my own heart. There's something very odd in this process of embodying intimacy as a state of mind. Sayadaw U Pandita in his room broke down the barrier of separation. Communion is saying where I begin and end and where you begin and end, we're basically saying we want to touch, we want to kiss, we want to play, we want to feel, we want to enter from the other side in. Who am I? Who are you? What are we doing in this space to co-evolve? Wow. It's one thing to evolve a state of mind, but it's another thing to evolve or co-evolve states of mind. So as we look for the Dharma, we find it in ourself. Doesn't mean that we close our eyes to intimacy as a state of mind. I'll close with this. We could open it up to a discussion. If I think of anything that I want more of in my life, is I want to know myself, and what that means is I want to be able to feel more intimately. I'm compelled by the energy of the mind, the energy of the body. Do you feel it? I eat the wrong thing. What is wrong? I eat it wrong. It's not necessarily the food that was wrong. How I do is intimacy. How many people I've seen as political prisoners eat the worst imaginable food, but they eat it with sacred intimacy. And they're able to satirically joke about it. I heard it in Burma. They bark and roar like dogs. The food was so wretched it's not even good for dogs. They would often laugh, "Ooh," to joke and to satirize the prison guards. But they would eat it with sacred, intimate presence. You look for the Dharma in the world, you find it in yourself. Never need to abscond, Alan, from the sacred state of mind called choice. How often people abscond from central empowerment. Mindfulness and meditation has taught me that choice making is a very intimate, rapid affair. I end with this. It's not an original concept. But go home and ask yourself, jot it down, where do you have dead time? Where are you zoning out into the familiar pattern of servitude to technology, to people, to text, to emails, to phone calls, to denial? Wherever you find yourself deadening, grow phobic of that relationship. As Martin Luther King says, let your outrage grow proportionate to your perception of oppression. Self-oppression as a state of mind. Self-deception, Alan, as a state of mind. How hard it is to see what you don't know. Intimacy is the courage to share things with each other that we might not see in ourselves. It's so obvious that we have the high ability to forgive. Doesn't have to be said perfectly, but to find joy, U Pandita would tell me in these conversations, find joy in admitting your faults, Alan. That someone had the courage and the ability, the trust to point something out to you. Hi, namaste. Hi, beauty. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, my friend, for allowing me the grace of learning something that I couldn't see in myself. Study that state of mind, of retractability, of self-respect, of self-honor. Learn how to grow in conscience, to grow from the perceptions of intimacy. So many different states of mind. To recap, list some 4, 5, 6, 10 different states of mind that you want to, as I seek my spiritual life, I find it in myself. As I look for the Dharma in the world, I find it as the study of felt realities in my own mind. States of mind. Meditation in dynamic living beingness. Don't think about sitting cross-legged somewhere. Study states of mind wherever we are. It has to be done by yourself, he said, like breathing. It has to be done repeatedly, like breathing. And it has to be done well, like breathing. And the air has to be clean, like breathing. Breathe healthy, oxygenated states of mind. As you look for the Dharma, he said, you find it in yourself. So please make those notes. What are those states of mind? What does intimacy feel like as a priority in your relationship with him or her? Not generally with everyone. Put it under intimate study and make it more of a living, dynamic reality that defines who we are. DMA. A little bit like DNA, but DMA. Dhamma Matrix Assessment. Very rare do you find on people's bios a Dhamma Matrix Assessment. How activated are they in their Dhamma, in their Dharma. That magnetism is a compelling force. And it's the force of self-responsibility that says, I refuse as much as you're willing to have me close to you, to participate in you not being right for me. You're not my issue. It's not proper to blame and judge you. I refuse to participate in that politic ever again. Assess the Dhamma matrix assessment of your own being. How active are you there? And let that be something that we cultivate as the defining quality of our Dharma. What will it be? What are these states? And how well will you practice them? So, from my heart, thank you for allowing me to be extemporaneous and intimate with you. And if you want to take some time to dive in anywhere at all about what's been said, what hasn't been said, we've got an infinite way to go. So just take your time and think about it. And for those of you who are on Facebook, there's coming a time when we're going to have microphones and we're going to have an ability to tune in, have you with those questions, and include the world in this dialogue as well. But until that comes, please be patient. And for the good folks here, anything at all that you might want to talk about, take a moment and think about it. States of mind. One of the great states of mind to make as a foundational quality in our lives is known as Khanti, Khanti, patience. I mean, let's face it, life as a human, by and large, sucks. It's got a few decent moments, if you're lucky, and they're temporary by nature. And if you don't think it sucks, just look around at the gazillions out there throughout history, not just billions, and just embody for a minute the quality of empathy. Feel what they might be feeling, and you know, whoa, 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 really intense. So patience. I can't quite get what I want when I want it. I have to deal with outrage, insult, blame, projection, random bullets and violence. I've got to belong to the Me Too campaign. Everyone's hitting on everyone wrongly. And if you're not being hit on with hands and penises, you're being hit on by guns and bullets and asteroids. We're living in a war zone. At the same time, there's Khanti, a state of mind. What does it mean to infuse a Dharma integrity to Khanti? Well, my experience with it, which is fledgling, is that it demands that you take problem out of presence. It's not just, I'm going to bear down on this and get through it. It's like saying, okay, I'm hanging with this. I'm going to hang. I'm going to take the poison out of the space. I'm going to take the panic out of the space. I'm going to take the problem out of the space. God damn it, I'm going to fucking learn something from this moment. And I'm going to take my attitude out of it and open up this feminine and inspired vulnerability that opens my arms and heart that says, you know, my anger, my resistance is essentially a statement of my uncertainty of knowing how to integrate this, knowing what's happening. It's a beautiful defense. It's not something wrong, but there's a much more elegant state of mind beyond the mindfulness of defensiveness. State of mind. Know a state of mind. Defensiveness is a beautiful state of mind. Why? She's compelling us to walk in closer to vulnerability, to openness, to patience, to fortitude, a willingness to embrace, to sit still, listen, and feel. So hard to listen and feel. So hard to admit, I don't know what's happening right now. I just don't know what's happening. I don't know, and I'm going to start crying. It hurts so bad. because I just don't know. Know that state of mind. I watched my dad, my mom, my teacher, he died not long after that. The radical collapse of the organs, the brain and the body. My dad would often say when I would call or see him, Alan, it's not going to get any better. It's not going to get any better. My mom saying the same things. Couldn't walk, couldn't move, couldn't barely touch. Wouldn't even bother to say, I've got to go to the restroom. It would be exactly where she is. It ain't going to get any better. The patience that I saw them live with, all of us have lost someone, fair enough? The patience required makes this conversation look so petty in relationship that we're called upon to deal with. When you seek the Dharma, you must find it within yourself. You can't escape at a certain point. How many times I've gone to my knees because my mother, Alan, I can't walk anymore. Do you know you've got good knees? You can still move from the pain. I can't. I got to be patient. I've got to be patient. Khanti as a state of mind.
The states of mind.
Please go ahead.
States of mind, like you want to create or like imagine the states of mind that you want to embody, or is it more like infusing all states of mind with Dharma integrity?
Very, very interesting. States of mind that you're choosing to develop, or infusing the idea of Dharma with a collection of minds, states. Is that?
Yeah, like witnessing, okay, this is anger, but then infusing it with the Dharma integrity. So
right.
You're not like, you're like, okay, I feel this, but I'm not gonna.
Beautiful. You see, your comment question points to the complexity, the intimacy, the nuance of the word Dharma. On the one hand, you could say there's a state of mind that has a unique characteristic. Anger has the characteristic to push something away. Whereas patience with anger has the ability to stabilize upon the discomfort and mindfully, through that state of mind, observe the anger and the patience in deep cooperation. So you now have 4 states of mind. You've got anger, you've got patience, you've got mindfulness, you've got cooperation.
And then the Kante.
And
putting the Kante into all of
right. Now here you're looking at, this collection could be called mindful intelligence. And you just pick up little things when you pick it up, and you learn to identify what the unique characteristic is of any particular state of mind, should you be able to see it for what it is. And it takes a fair degree of practice to see that what you assume as love is often tainted very heavily with pride and greed and an agenda of want, of craving. And to know the difference between compassion, which is, I'm really willing to feel the discomfort of this woman, and I'm not willing to just feel it, I'm willing to actually actively do things to elevate the status of her life, is very different than the state of sadness, which, God, I'm just so sorry to hear that. And it sort of collapses down rather than elevates up. It has no action in it. It's a very different state of mind. So to know the distinction between those states of mind, we're looking at a lifelong journey of the Dharma. When you look for the Dharma in the world, you find states of mind inside of your mind. And knowing how to even reclaim looking outward as well as you feel inward simultaneously. That's a very responsible person. It's a very intimate relationship. It's a very wise state of mind. Intimacy, states of mind. Wisdom, states of mind. Reclaiming projection, mindful intelligence. You reclaim blame. Tracing back the radiance of a mind state. Tracing back the functionality of a state of mind. And claiming ownership of it. Ownership of a state of mind as something arising in yourself is a mindfully intelligent discernment. Many people see that they think that what's happening to them is happening because of you. And they want to shift you, change you, avoid you, control you. Fair enough, it's normal. But it should be seen as absolutely crazy. Because we're absconding from the state of mind called choice. The wisdom of choice, and then making choice wise. Discernment, independent thinking as states of mind, all of which point to the Dharma, or a synonym for that is mindful intelligence. And I find that the best way to take a lot of these words out of the word vocabulary is to start writing them down. If you saw my flat, my walls, papers are filled with reminders of states of mind, inspiring phrases that point me back to the cultivation of states of mind. I wake up in the morning, I no longer just get out of bed randomly, I get up with a sense of mindful presence now. I can see that I'm a little bit more on it. I sit up. Practical thing. I was recently in Burma. We're doing our annual retreat. I had the good fortune to be part of the retreat in a monastery which is silent, where people are sitting and walking in meditation up to 20 hours a day, following a very succinct schedule. And because I had other duties to do, I was, by choice, leaving the monastery to handle those duties into an extremely busy urban setting. Bumper-to-bumper gridlock, toxic air, auditory energy like, auditory shrapnel, really. It's so loud. And the air without just pure toxicity with petrochemical, and busy and sweaty and fraught with invisible insects that give you very terrible diseases like malaria and dengue. And so you're being assaulted all the time. And it's like, you see the monastery as the place where it's more favorable to be in the state of mind that you want. But we don't have the luxury of living only there and not there. And why would you want to even do that ultimately, except if you really, okay, I know what you're trying to get to, Alan. How do you live there, which is optimal, over here where it's less optimal? Fair enough? And so, learning not just states of mind, but techniques and attitudes. Techniques, attitudes, states of mind. Create your lists of inspiring attitudes, techniques, and states. Carry them in your heart, your wallet, your pocket, wherever you have them. Memorize them, Sayadaw U Pandita would tell me. Become the Dharma that you look in the world and you find it in your own mind. Mindful intelligence isn't just a trust in the ineffable. I've watched my daughter since she was young learn how to speak and walk. Alan, I've seen you over the years learn how to speak in mindful intelligence and talk in more mindful intelligence and inhabit more mindfully intelligent states of mind. It's a training, it's a practice, it's a diligence, it's a love affair, it's a passion. Embrace it, take it up. Embody your Dhamma matrix assessment and make that the priority of your presence. And lead from an authentic, intimate spontaneity that allows us the gift of our humanness, from intimacy to eroticism to sexuality to fear and to sleep and to desire and good food and to dance. But not to lose contact with the Dhamma, the Dharma. That gift is the gift of our freedom. Because we have choice in what we say. We have choice in what we are willing and want to listen to. We have choice in an aesthetic that we are choosing as priority of presence. Yes, we're living in a world in which anything can happen, and it often does, but why not choose your own destiny, if it's possible. Fair enough? So commit to that as central to the matrix of the Dharma. I refuse to participate in the slavery of ordinary and habit. Snap out of that. Be in intimate friendships with teachers, friends, allies. Make your list. Create everything needed to allow optimal awakening on the terms of your choice. I do not want to participate in that story. I'm sorry, namaste. I'm going back home alone and leaving this elegant, beautiful, high-end, rich, totally mindfully cool bullshit party. I don't think I want to belong here. This is just bullshit. The art of rejection. And nothing wrong with it. You don't have to make them wrong. You're just basically saying, it just isn't the Spotify that I want to listen to today. It's not on my playlist. Okay? Deadbeat music. Sorry. It's just filled with pretense. I'm just not up for it today. Tomorrow maybe I'll come back and listen, I'm an asshole just like you are, but not tonight. I'm going home alone. Fair enough, fair enough. That mindful intelligence is a radical discernment. If only people would talk that way to one another. We go to high-end comedy, they attempt it. Fair enough. So the courage to speak your mind, state of mind. You find someone in life that you really love, are you showing up? What does that mean? Yes, I'm there for you, honey. Yes, deliver on the promise of the deepest, most vulnerable, intimate, fledgling truths of your spirit. Tell me the secret things of your mind, love. Don't you want to meet these people? I mean, if we don't take the lead, we'll have no Sangha. Say to Upandita, please come back, Alan. Come back, Janine. Come back, Derek. Tomorrow night, I have more I wish to discuss with you. He wanted to commune. In that state of mind, the desire to commune, taking it out of the desire for sex, or to get laid, or to get money, or to career. Okay. Sorry to get so animated about it, but it's just like, okay. But someone who's willing to sit there and dance and talk and listen to my playlist with you, and you go like, fuck man, this is incredible music. You're an incredible mind. You're a beautiful mind. And I'll end with this in this comment. I mean, again, the word for meditation in Buddhist Pali is bhavana, the beautification of mind. And it's like, okay, I can be beautiful, I can be profound. What does that mean? What is the state of mind called beauty? So whatever is needed to inspire us in the day to be the person that we want to be is the development of the Dharma. When you look at the Dharma around the world, you find it in yourself. What does that point to? Ownership of states of mind. What else do we have? Chairs and sofas, armoires, cars, bills, Visa cards, shopping. We have states of mind. You could have the best in the world, obviously. Without the state of mind that can really appreciate it, it's like a barking dog. How many people die in quiet desperation with everything in the world around them? And other people have nothing, and they live in the saintly satisfaction of freedom. Who do they remember in society? The rich and the greedy? Or the ones who knew the secret things, the Buddha, Jesus? When you really think of who the special people are, who do you comes to mind? We're among that class. It's okay to own, as you all know, own the willingness to be a warrior, a soldier, an elegant lady, a man, a person. As my teacher concluded these 6 nights, he said, Alan, this is what it means to be human. That's all that we're doing here. Don't teach Buddhism. Don't encourage people to be Buddhists. Yes, I'm a son of the Buddha, he would say. But what's important is to know how to become human. And that was the end of 6 nights. So, thank you for that. Anything else that you'd like to discuss and talk about? Questions? Anything at all? It doesn't have to be rich and deep. It could be ordinary, intimate. Take your mind and think for a second.
So the other day I was talking to my sister-in-law. She's a teacher, and was telling me about all these things that they're trying to do to encourage more critical thinking and see how children ask questions or navigate questions. And it's kind of tied into other conversations I've had recently about what's happening nowadays in regards to, I guess, technology, social networking, social media, immediacy of like products and advertising. There's so much convenience, or this idea of convenience. And it's coming back to me as you're speaking, especially when you're mentioning, you could meditate at a temple, or you could bring it with you wherever you go, right? And it's as if like there's also this perception to challenge of it being more convenient to meditate in a temple or a particular space, where like just logistically speaking, it would be convenient if you could just do it anywhere. Just like, on the day-to-day.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just interesting. I just keep coming back to this like perception of easiness that's tied to like getting things faster or doing things the way an ad tells you to, whereas just taking like the initiative upon yourself to have a critical mind, critical thought of what you're experiencing is in many ways easier and challenges that perception of easiness. Yeah. It's just been something I've been thinking of. I've mostly been writing down what you've said.
Listen, you're in good space to share what you think and feel. Thank you for sharing that. Just listening to what you said, what came to mind, it may not have anything to do with what you said ultimately. I have a tendency of hearing myself, despite what people are talking about. But what does it mean to meditate free of the perception that I'm deliberately meditating? So that you take the location and the form off of meditation and take it into your Dharma life, in your being, as an internal action that can be applied anywhere.
Nice.
Free of postural integrity or postural preference. We normally associate meditation with sitting, eyes closed on a cushion, cross-legged. We often associate yoga with being in a studio doing asana, whether it be, the classic child's pose or downward facing dog. These are discernible postures. But here we're looking at the possibility, the high likelihood that 99.9% of our entire life is spent living out of preferred forms. I don't live in a monastery. I don't live in a yoga studio. I don't live on my cushion. I live in my body. So meditation as the basis of meditative life, the basis of the Dharma life, as body awareness. Groundedness in the wisdom and the mindfulness of embodiment. So that wherever you look for the Dharma, you find it by feeling embodiment. Basis of meditation is being embodied, feeling my physical beingness. Then, I noticed, like in Burma, when I left the meditation center, I did what I could to train myself to be mindfully aware of my body as I move. Sitting in the taxi, getting out, opening the door, closing the door, then talking to the taxi driver, practicing my fledgling Burmese, listening, interacting, intimacy, openness, confusion about just being a study of presence. And then at times when we were silent, back to a meditative sense of embodiment. And then a more refined sense, which is a deep encouragement within the monastery where I lived. Wherever you find yourself, there you are. Be with your breathing. In breath. Cool. Out breath. Rising, falling of the abdomen. Wherever you go, you have your mind. You have your body. And the more, obviously, the more that one trains themselves to be with the in and out of the body as it breathes, the more concentration that's evolving, the more focus, the more energy, the more aliveness, and all of a sudden you find yourself becoming more and more present, more and more energized, more and more focused, more and more alert. And you begin to see this, the Dharma of Causality. If I do this, this happens. If I don't do this, this ceases. The more mindful I am, the more effort I make, the more concentrated I become, the more I sense and feel the wisdom of what's right and the wisdom of restraining what's wrong. The discerning mind comes right back to the wisdom of knowing how to meditate, which means how to feel where I am and being mindfully present to that and refining that wherever we can. In breath, out breath. In breath. Lots of times in conversation with someone, you could be radically listening to them, but at the same time practice situating this mindful intelligence very much inside of your form. As if you're in a way kind of tantrically making energetic love together. You're not touching physically, but you're touching mentally and emotionally by being embodied. You're in a body. It's like you're sexually with someone, whatever your preferences are. You're not like thinking about being somewhere else, and if you are, you're really kind of missing the beauty of what's possible. You're being in your body, you're physically touching. Here you're mentally and emotionally and dharmically touching. So you inspire yourself, Alan, to bring present time presence to the moment. Inspiration here and now to be embodied and be with in-breath, out-breath. The more we can train ourselves to do that, the more beneficial results that will happen. And I found in this 10-day retreat, where I really made an effort to take my meditation off the cushion, into the cab, into the conversations, into the interviews, walking, sitting, tying my lungi, eating food, listening, accusing dogs for barking too loud. And I found myself becoming more and more and more composed. So I kind of like this lifestyle. All of a sudden on day 5 and 6, the din, the loudness, the petrochemical, the intelligence of my complaints began to subside. I now began to see that when you look for the Dharma, you find it in yourself. And taking that more and more to heart is the issue of how to practice. That's it. Take it out of speculation. I kept telling myself, take it out of the conundrum that you superimpose upon yourself that you'll do better tomorrow. It's always applied here and now, and the more concurrent we are with that application, keyword, momentum. I call it flow. Getting into momentum, getting into flow, the Dharma starts taking care of the Dharma. And U Pandita would say in this interview, those who take care of the Dhamma takes care of them. It's a momentum issue. So again, I'm not sure if this had any application to what you're saying, but thank you for the moment to share it with you. Anything else before we close tonight? Are you cool? Oh, good. Or anything? Take your time.
I know that you've. I work with kids at an after-school program, and so I'm wondering if you have anything in particular, like over the last couple of months that I've been working there, like the child energy and like that mindset has been really cool and awesome, and I've learned a lot from that. But then sometimes it can be challenging in like the teaching element of it. And I'm aware that you have a daughter, correct?
Yeah, Sarah.
So I'm wondering if you have any particular or what kind of wisdom you could espouse on being with kids and learning from them, and also being able to teach them without being all the things that I hate about teaching.
Yeah, well said. That's a beautiful question. Really, not just being a dad, but being a complete doting human being on children. I love the child. There's something so miraculous about the child that I've just had with me since I was young, and as I grow older, feel even more inclined, more open, more there. When I'm in a group of adults, where's the kid? Kind of thing. That's the thing I like in someone, is the child, and I like children a lot. It's interesting you ask that Seda U Pandita, of all monks and nuns in the world, he's probably the foremost teacher of children. He started back in 1975 what's called as a Dhamma culture course, which in his language he taught in these courses at the monastery where I lived, and later on a monastery that he started. Children from age of 5 to 13 that would come for a month. They would ordain as nuns and monks, and they would learn essential spiritual intelligence, as he would call it, essential mindful intelligence, which is sila, or ethical intelligence, Sika, which is higher mind state intelligence, and Satipatthana, which is another synonym for clear comprehension and mindful presence of perception, and the study of phenomenology of, if I notice how I perceive life, I can shift and enter the architecture and live more wisely, more liberated, what's beneficial, avoid unpleasant things. These three S's he termed spiritual intelligence, SQ. And I've used the word mindful intelligence, MQ. And he's been teaching it since 1975, and many tens of thousands of children in Burma come to the monasteries based upon his curriculum. And if you remind me over the coming weeks, I'll do what I can to get you this curriculum. And maybe it's translated into English, and you can see for yourself what he's done over the many decades of teaching basic spiritual intelligence to children. And I know, having lived in the monasteries with the children coming, some of the things that I've seen and learned, because I was also part of the teaching there at times. The wisdom of ethical courage, knowing what's right and what's wrong, and having the courage to discern the difference, and really looking at the state of mind on what's beneficial and what isn't beneficial. You know what foods are good, what foods aren't good. The same things emotionally. To know the essential nature of the Dharma, or the Dhamma, which would be, these states lead to your demise and the demise of others. They lead to your own conflict and suffering, and they lead to the suffering of others. If you live in them and abide in them and act from them, you'll suffer and make suffering on others too. You must learn how to restrain those kilesa, those unpleasant, destructive states of mind. You must know what they are and know how to restrain them, and have the courage to do it over and over again. Essential Dhamma culture, essential spiritual intelligence. And they have very clever ways of teaching kids how to be more self-responsible with the state of mind. The opposite is, these states lead to your happiness and satisfaction and well-being, and these states, when occupied and elevated, lead to the happiness and well-being of others. You must know what they are, have the wisdom to mindfully inhabit them, and the courage to see them evolve and develop. Mentally, through speech, through thought, and through action. That basic framework, overcoming destructive states and negative states, inhabiting positive and beneficial states, knowing what they are, the courage to see them, to restrain one, to elevate the other, to cultivate them in thought, speech, and action. That's the architecture of elementary spiritual intelligence. A combination of ethics, higher states of mind, and meditative training. And that's what he would teach the children. That basic mental, emotional curriculum, the art of the teacher. And it's really a talent, obviously, to teach children. But I've interviewed many of them. I can even show you some of the videos of the boys and girls being translated into English and what they've learned after a month. And it's really spectacular. And so it's beautiful that you teach children and you ask this question, because you have a chance to really, wow, you get to take these timeless teachings on the terms of what's appropriate for you and your students, but infuse ethical intelligence, emotional intelligence, and spiritual intelligence in the classroom and become a real emotional thought leader in that area. And children love it. Kids absolutely go bonkers for these teachings. They just like feeling more happy, more resilient, more kind to one another, less restless, less unpleasant, less stressed out. They respond very intimately to these things. So just a kind of an opening to a discussion. If you come over the coming weeks, we could enter more fully, and I'm happy to look for some things that I might be able to give you so you can just read and see these things on your own. So, and then I have my own personal experience with my daughter. And I'm happy to share any time with you, or I'm sure other people in the room who have children too, that the gift and the challenge of having a child, and what does it mean to enter that dynamic, and on the one hand, give her every space in the world to evolve autonomously and uniquely. At the same time, as a parent, offer guidance directly and indirectly that you know will be beneficial to her for life. I know one thing that I do that's often very controversial among other parents, but she herself is very proud of it, is that we've had a lifelong policy of non-forcing. I've never forced her to do anything that I'm conscious of. And she's super vocal about this. She tells her friends, no, my dad does not. If I don't want to eat the spinach, I don't eat that. And if I don't want to go to bed, I just stay up. And we speak about it. That's the rule. We speak about it. We talk about the consequences. She asks questions. But the bottom line, she decides. And I just find something remarkably healthy in that. I'm sure it's got some real downsides. But so far, so good in 11 years that she's turned out to be a very independent thinker. She's very well spoken. I love her emotional life. I love the way she relates to friends. And for God's sake, one of the criticisms that I have of parents and adults, so to speak, when I was younger, that they treated me like a child. You probably know that much better than I do, but it's like, I'm not fucking dumb. I'm doing drugs too on top of it, and I'm super smart because of it. And you should do some too. Open your mouth, mind you, this was like when I was 15. But I felt even like the age of 7 and 8, don't you feel like you're really like on it, and these big towering giants are telling you you're not? And it's like, what are you talking about? So treating her with intelligence has been a real high priority for me. Learning that, let's talk about it. There's nothing that we can't talk about. That's the big kept secret, I think, with children, is that they have this rich inner world, and that we unknowingly at times want to teach them how to adapt to a very incarcerating culture. And then they have to undo all this shit, if they're lucky, through therapy and drugs and acting out. And if, God forbid, they end up becoming nationalists and soldiers. And we end up living in this incredible cycle of abuse and violence based upon passing on unknowingly the culture of slavery and oppression. And so how to really know these dynamics in ourselves. What are we teaching and why? Are we teaching, what this gentleman brought up, are we teaching independent thinking? How to emotionally regulate their own states of mind. Do they know how to do that? Do they know how to manage their own states of mind? What are self-management tools? You know, so emotional intelligence like that. But at the same time, I'm getting a little bit carried away about this, but so be it. When I really look at my life as a child, as a young adult, and as an adult, and as an adult child, what I feel I never got any real learning about was sex. I probably didn't get any real learning until about 6 months ago, frankly. Only because it became such a wow, Alan, you got this enlightened heart and the sexuality of like a 17-year-old. And I'm not alone in that. I think probably most men go right back into 12 or 13. But it was like no learning whatsoever in that area. So I began to seek women primarily who wanted to have conversations about men and about intimacy and about sexuality. And it was really an eye-opener for me. So that was a big thing. I'm sure that could start a lot sooner than having to do it at 65. Money. Just winging it with pure programming based upon unexplored conditioning from mom and dad and culture. Health. Very different today, but still health, diet, supplements, embodiment. Knowing how to discern belief systems from pure direct experience. I was so easily co-opted by the elegance of seductive religion. I became an evangelist for Buddhism. I was seduced by the unknowable, thinking that I knew it. So how to really decathex from the preoccupation of magical thinking, real crucial issue of how to really allow children to embody a kind of a deep, elegant atheism, if you will. And within that, let them form feelings and opinions and beliefs, but know the difference between direct experience and imagination. That intelligence, I think, is a really important one. I wasted many, many years meditating. The psychology of denial, just that concept. How well can you teach a child what they are denying, what they don't know? How to really look on the horizon of possibility and know how to walk that valley towards that star. The actualization of a goal was never something I really learned. I was really OCD on most everything, from my penis and masturbation, to money and spending it, to cigarettes and alcohol, to the immediacy of pleasure. So psychological wisdom, an actualization of vision. So all these things, this curriculum, I'm sure in different schools. My daughter goes to the Waldorf school. It's got some prose and some serious, whatever the opposite of prose are, blemishes on the psyche. And what's the ideal curriculum, you know? Is it coming back to piecemealing with people like yourself who are teachers, how to optimize the liberty to think independently and freely? What's in your heart, young woman? And give yourself the ability to love that, to dream about it, to feel it, to not race through your youth, your heart. Don't have to overcome your stuffies. You know, you don't have to prepare for adulthood. You know. So there's lots of things here that could really open up to a wide discussion, but thank you for bringing it up, and I hope there's something in there that touches something, and to just keep the door open, because it's a really important one. Okay, we're going to end now because it's time. Thank you from my heart. Thank you on Facebook. Thank you, Kim, for helping to film. And thank you for coming out, and you're of course welcome to come next week. It's the 4th, 5th, and 6th Mondays, and we're going to end the series. And again, thank you for your patience and your kindness to listen to me and participate with your heart. Really meaningful to me. So, namaste. Have a great week.